Hey, what's up, everyone? Some white dude has been on my ass a little bit about doing a response, and I've been a little busy lately. I have a few videos I planned out, but figure, fuck it. So, this is the second part of the series that I'm doing, a response to a racist. But this is going to be a response to the first half of his second video. Now, first off, some white dude, don't send me PMs and shit, okay? Because I cannot respond. You have some kind of fucking friends lock shit on, and I'm not going to approve you as a fucking friend. So, don't, okay? Maybe you forgot about that, but just so you know. Now, first, I'm going to address one thing, because this video is just going to be about the Holocaust primarily. There's going to be a couple little things at the end that kind of deal with it, but kind of don't. First, some white dude, you have a huge fucking misconception, and that is that death camps and concentration camps were the same fucking thing. They weren't, and that's going to come into play quite a bit in this response. So let's go ahead and get started. First, you're trying to make the argument that it's like they try to make it like the most important fucking thing in history, which they don't. In fact, in my history classes, we learned more about American history than, you know, the Holocaust. So I don't see where you're getting this from. I think you just hear this shit and you just parrot it. It's not fucking true. And you're basically saying it's like drilled into our heads. What's drilled into our heads just as much as any other historical fucking fact. The Holocaust happened, okay? They drilled into our heads just as much as they do about the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, etc. So, no, you're completely fucking wrong. Again, I think you're just parroting things you've heard from people like Matt Hale. You know, that, oh, it's like the most important thing. No, that's not what they're doing here. Anyhow, in some countries, you say, in some countries it's law that has to be taught. Well, I think it should be. Just like it should be law to teach other types of fucking history, okay? Just like I think it should be law to teach evolution. You know why? Because it's a fucking scientific fact, okay? Well, not a fact, it's a theory. I know science deals with theory and they don't say it's a fact. But creationism is not a fucking fact. It's not even a theory, so they can't teach that. The Holocaust is part of history. It's a fucking historical fact. That's why they teach it. Now, one thing you're trying to say is like, well, and this is even on your little fucking heading on your page. What does it say? No soap, no lampshades, no gas. Okay, well, first off, for people who think that the soap shit is true, you might be right. Possibly. We don't know. Even Michael Shermer was talking about this in one of the books of his I read, that to date we have not found a single fucking bar soap that has human DNA. So, yeah, it could be true. It might not be true. We don't know. We can't say it's a fact because there's no facts to back it up. But the lampshade thing, there's a woman, I'm forgetting her name because it's a German name and I don't speak fucking German fluently, but they called her the Bitch of Buchenwald. Now, I'm going to put her name in the description. What she did, because she was the wife of a camp guard, she would find Jews that had tattoos she liked, and she would have them killed, and she would make shit out of their skin. Wallets, upholstery, shit like this. Now, when the supply of Jews who had tattoos she liked started running dry, she had certain inmates tattoo with shit she wanted, and she would have them killed, and make shit out of that. So, yes, that did happen. But also, the gas thing. You're completely fucking wrong. And I've addressed this in a video I did before. It was a response to Absolute Libertine. He wasn't the one saying it didn't happen. It was another guy he was responding to, and I just kind of elaborated on a couple things. But the thing is, an argument I've heard is that Zyklon B was actually a chemical they used to kill lice, and people like pour it down their pants to kill fucking pubic lice, which is not true. When they found these fucking empty canisters, what did it say? Giftgas. What does that mean? That translates into poison gas. And by the way, I have a little quote here. If you watch a movie called Conspiracy, it was done by HBO Films, it's a brilliant fucking movie. It's based on the tapes of the Wannsee Conference, which was the conference that took place. It was, I believe, 15 guys, various government officials. They met in Wannsee to determine the final solution. And they were talking about various things, and the guy who was leading the meeting, Reinhard Heydrich, he said, no, we're going to use gas. Now, you try to say it's not true, but here, his deputy, and when Heydrich was assassinated, Eichmann, or Eichmann, took over. And here's a quote from him, and this is at his trial. "I would jump into my grave laughing because the fact that I have the death of 5 million Jews on my conscience gives me extraordinary satisfaction." Now, why would he say that if it's not fucking true? Why? And why would there be other people at the Nuremberg trials saying, yes, it happened? See, that's the fucking biggest thing right there. Now, some people, well, they were drugged or they were made to... No, wrong. That's not what happened. They admitted it. In fact, a lot of these guys are like, yeah, I did some of this shit, but it was the guy above me. I had to do it. I had no fucking choice. Okay, so, move on. Now, you're talking about how in some countries it's illegal to question it. Now, people like Coughlin616, he has addressed this, and he says, it's wrong. You should not be able to tell someone you cannot believe this or that. That's fucked up. That's against freedom of speech. That's against freedom of expression. You should be able to question it if you want. So I'll say, okay, fine on that point. And then you're talking about, if it's true, then why isn't it open to scrutiny? Well, first off, scrutiny from who? You? You're not a historian. The historians are the ones who can look at this shit, because they are the fucking experts. I'm not gonna fucking just ask some random asshole on the street about the fucking evolutionary chain from monkeys to humans. I'm not gonna ask him what the missing links are and shit, if you even want to call them that. Okay? They're not experts. I'm going to go to the experts and listen to what they have to say, because this is what they fucking do for their jobs. And then you're bringing up some bullshit analogy like, oh, if I have something on my house, it doesn't work. Just so you know. Okay, it doesn't work. It's a bullshit analogy, and I don't even know why you fucking said it. Probably just sounded good at the time. One little point, though, is the only death camps were in Soviet territory, which is not true. Even if you're just talking about concentration camps, that's not true. Concentration camps were in many other countries, but the death camps were not Soviet territory. All 4 of them were in Poland, okay? You can look that shit up. It's fucking true. So no, that's not a Soviet territory. The Germans took that shit over. And, I don't know, you're saying, like, they admitted to, like, no extermination camps. I think you're talking about the concentration camps. These guys are, no, these are not extermination camps. These are concentration camps, okay? Which, by the way, concentration camps are a British idea. Well, they were a British idea, and it just comes from concentrating on a certain group of people. You know, be that, you know, Jews, gypsies, political enemies, you know, being communists or just anti-Nazis. There were even people within the Nazi party who were sent to concentration camps. One guy who was at the Wannsee Conference, Martin Luther, he, actually, the reason they know that it took place, that the meeting took place and how it took place, was because he had a copy of the fucking tapes. The people who took part in this meeting were supposed to burn them. He didn't do it. Now, maybe this was because of maybe some kind of leverage, you know, because the war wasn't looking too good for Germany at this time. Maybe it was for a memento, we don't know. But soon after that, he was sent to a concentration camp because he conspired against a superior officer. So, there you go. Concentration camps, again, are not the same as fucking death camps, okay? Now, let's move on. Then you're talking about the starving people, the pictures that we see. And the Allies bombed the shit out of Germany, and there are people that look like that in the streets. No, wrong. That's not true at all. If you've looked at the pictures, do you really see a whole lot of Germans, just, you know, non-Jewish Germans looking like that? No. And if that is the fucking case, give me some fucking evidence. Because the only pictures I see of people like that were ones in fucking death camps, and sometimes in concentration camps. You know, you said there's no gassing. They died of starvation and typhus. They did die of starvation. They did die of typhus. But, yes, there was gassing too. The people who weren't suited for work, as they said, were immediately sent to the gas chambers. The other people would help build shit. They would make shit. Okay? You know, like the SS, since they ran the fucking concentration camps, that's where a lot of their uniforms came from. Again, you know, you can look this shit up. It's not that fucking difficult to find. And then you say there was no systematic program to kill the Jews. Okay, yeah, again, the Wannsee Conference, that was the fucking meeting to determine the Jewish question and the Holocaust. In fact, one little thing they were talking about, another little systematic program they had, was their mobile gassing truck program, where they would take a truck pile as many Jews in the back as they possibly could, and they would redirect the exhaust and kill them with carbon monoxide poisoning. Okay, and in fact, in the movie Conspiracy, someone made a joke because apparently with carbon monoxide poisoning, the bodies come out pink, and one guy made the joke, the Jews go in red and come out pink. Now that's progress. So yes, that's a systematic fucking that's a system to kill off the fucking Jews. The mass shootings, that's systematic as well. But then you even admit there were shootings and shit. That's not systematic to you? Whatever. But then you're talking about Jews were allowed to send postcards to their families and shit, and you know, not all Jews were in camps. I mean, not all of Germany's Jews were in camps. Okay, first off, yes, in concentration camps, which were not automatically a death sentence, because Hitler did, in fact, issue huge amnesties, especially within the first few years of concentration camps. They were allowed to send postcards. Yeah, that's true. Death camps? No. No. And also, yeah, not all Jews in Germany were sent to camps. That is true. However, one thing you're missing is not all of Germany's Jews were in camps. That is true. In fact, that's one little thing that historians have to look at when they determine the number, the exact number, because they can't really have it. It's a guess, like I've said before. They have to look at the Allied bombings too, so they have to adjust according to that. So yeah, this is nothing new. You're not bringing any fucking new information to me. But I guess one of your questions to me, and I guess that you thought hard about this one, is why did our leaders sit next to Stalin? Stalin did far worse shit than Hitler. Okay, well, number one, they sat next to Stalin because Russia had a huge standing fucking army. They conscripted people. And even beyond that, they had a ton of fucking people fighting for them, and they're the ones who basically, you know, destroyed the German fucking army. They're the ones that overran Germany, and so yeah, and I don't know, I guess they had this fucking stupid notion that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So yeah, it was stupid, but especially since that led into the Cold War, which, yeah, you kind of bring up, Stalin did far worse shit, which is true. Hitler's death count was around 10 million, they say, but Stalin's was around 50 million. But then again, Stalin was around, you know, a lot longer. I mean, that doesn't make either one of them good fucking people. But anyway. And then you're talking about the History Channel. You only hear about Hitler, never Stalin, which now, if you just watch other shit, you'll hear plenty about Stalin. But why do people watch so much shit about the Nazis and Hitler? You know why? Because people who like military history, a lot of times, like learning about Nazi Germany. I know I do. That's why I know shit. Because I watch things. I read books. You know, I read articles on the internet. I do research. Okay, that's why. I really don't give a flying fuck about communist Russia. I would much rather learn about, you know, Nazi Germany. And, you know, you never hear about the communist shit. Well, you're older than me, so I would expect that you would have had that shit shoved down your throat, how evil communism is, and how fucked up Stalin was. Maybe you heard that Hitler was fucked up too, yeah, but you probably heard that as well, that Stalin was fucked up, communism sucks. But then you're trying to allude to me possibly being a communist, or I have communist friends, which, why would that fucking matter if they're communists? I have Republican friends, I'm not a Republican. I have, you know, conservative friends, I'm not a conservative. But you're also trying to talk about, like, their fucked up history. Okay, Christians have a fucked up history. Muslims have a fucked up history. Jews have a somewhat fucked up history. All kinds of fucking people have a fucked up history. That's not gonna determine whether I'm friends with them or not. So anyhow, that's the end of part 2. I'm gonna do part 3 when I can. I've been working more lately, so it'll happen when it fucking happens. So, some white dude, you know, just fucking calm down. I'm gonna do more responses. But anyhow, this is Bad 5, and I'll see you guys next video.